laws of leverage.
And do you even need leverage in your life?
Do you need it? You don't need it. You don't need it, but it can come in darn handy. Darn tootin' handy from time to time, I must say.
Well, it depends on, I guess, the category in which that we're looking at it in.
Well, if you're trying to catapult a eggplant across a field, for example, leverage is very helpful.
Yes.
No leverage, no catapult.
Yes.
You know, there are situations where you do need some good old-fashioned leverage. So, first of all, for those of you who are here, what is your idea of leverage? Because I think if we're going to talk about leverage, one thing we need to do is establish what the heck it is we're actually talking about, because it's a very amorphous term. I mean, it's a simple concept and idea when you're applying it exclusively to physics, but we're not applying it to physics. We're applying it conceptually to business or in other areas of our life, right? So the laws are a little bit different.
Yeah.
Jacqueline says, toss a burning piano across the playa. That's what I'm talking about. It's a little bit more
bending
exciting.
Spoons. That's a form of leverage, isn't it?
That's right.
With your mind leverage.
Yeah. So to think about leverage, one might be able to go back to maybe junior high school math, perhaps, and think about a teeter-totter, a seesaw, right? And so you have a board, right? You got your board and you got your pivot point, right in the middle of the board. You get two kids that are roughly the same size and weight, and you put them on the ends of the plank, and you can go up and down, and it's very exciting. Exactly.
Does it look like that?
It does. It does. And you get one kid that's significantly heavier than the other kid, and they can start moving the other kid around pretty good, even though they're sitting on the same board, right?
I don't know. Were you like me in childhood where you got on with the bigger kid and they would hold it down, and then you'd be flailing with your feet up there, and then they would all of a sudden just jump off the seesaw, and then boom.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I was tall, but I was really skinny and spindly, you know? And so, yeah, super fun. And so, but what happens when
Hi and bye, Robin. Thanks for joining us for whatever time you can.
That's right. That was quick. It was like a 15-second check-in. What's up, Robin? So what ends up happening is when you move that pivot point, right, at different points along the board, you have more or less leverage. Moving the weight at the other end becomes more difficult, or it becomes easier, right?
Right.
And so there are a lot of different ways to get leverage in lots of different areas, but in business specifically, there are still almost an infinite number of ways to get leverage. So, but you need to really wrap your head around it. Otherwise you'll stay stuck forever, and you'll stay stuck in what we call the time for money trap, right? If you don't have any leverage, then you're in a situation where you will be trading your time for the same amount of money from now until until you stop working, whether it's in your job or whether it's in your business.
Which is a form of leverage when you're just leveraging your time.
Okay, fair enough. But there's a limit to your time, right?
Absolutely. That's
right.
You know, under the Income for Life business development process that I came up with, 16 years ago or whatever now, the income today category is where you're just leveraging your time to get the income coming in. And, you're trading dollars for time, but that is a form of leverage, right? Because your time is worth something. The problem is that there's only two ways to make that more valuable, right? You either put in more hours or figure out a way to make your time more valuable so that you get more from it. But at a certain point, there's only 168 hours in a week, and none of us get any more than that, period. End of story.
So let's talk about that. How do you get leverage? How can you stop leveraging exclusive? So when we talk about being stuck in the grind, right? This can be in the grind of your business or your job, right? There are other types of grinds that you talk about as well, right? Yep. But when it comes down to money, Usually we're talking about being stuck in the grind of your business or job. You have to put in a certain number of hours every single day, every single week, every single month, or you stop making money, right? And if you want to make more money, you have to double down and put even more time, effort, and energy into your job or your work. And that leaves you less time to spend it in the rest of your life. So inevitably,
and be balanced and actually be present in all the areas when you're there.
So you end up neglecting your health, your spirituality, your
connection with the relationships,
your family, right? All sorts of other things get neglected because you really want to make your time more valuable and you want to maximize it. You really want to build something, create something awesome, right? And you go full force at it. So how do you, if you're a workaholic style entrepreneur that doesn't mind doing the work, if you have no work ethic and you're just a slacker, there's not a whole lot we can do for you anyway. But let's assume that you got some work ethic and you're able to get yourself up and get to work and put time in. How do you start shifting from only leveraging your time? If you're leveraging 40, 60, 80, 100 hours a week into building your business and you're still stuck and not making the progress you need, how do you break free?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know. Well, I mean, for me,
I don't know. I have no idea.
I go back to the Income for Life process, because when I came up with it, it was like such a breakthrough in thinking for me. And what I talked about is that there's income today money where you're leveraging your time. And then you need to transcend it because there's always going to be a cap, because there's only so many hours that you can put in. And there's only so much increase in value that you can bring to the hour. Sure, you can continue to do that, but at a certain point, you're going to be maxed out and you're going to be burnt out, right? Mm-hmm. But then the next thing, the way that I talked about it originally was the way to transcend it is to start to leverage your knowledge and turn your knowledge into a leverage point rather than just your time. And I have since evolved it to leveraging systems, which include knowledge, intellectual property, different ways of systemizing what you're doing and to duplicate it. And so that's the first step, is so like a form of leverage can be, it's in the system category, but like ads. You can run it like you have a successful campaign or a successful funnel or a combination of both of them. And now all of a sudden it's not reliant on your time. You put in the time to develop the system, the advertising method, the campaign, the funnel that it's going to feed into, and the results that it's going to give. But basically that does the work for you. And at a certain point you can dial it up and dial it down, but in essence, you're duplicating you. Right. Through this, it's the one to many. The problem is that also, believe it or not, that type of leverage is also limited. It comes to a point where there's, it's transactional in nature. It's linear leverage still, because that gets capped out. Because what ends up happening is that if we don't focus in on turning that system into a business asset, or what I would call a continuity income asset, that's the only way that you can then develop that system so that it can then run the business for you and that it feeds it. It's not just, because even with a system, usually the rainmaker or the founder of the technology or whatever you want to call it, if they stop, when it's in a systemized fashion, it's a slower tail before you feel the repercussions, but it eventually stops too. When you transcend a system-only approach and you turn those systems into true business assets, that the business assets are doing it, then it's not reliant on the founder, on the visionary. They put that into the business itself, and now that is going to sustain it. And it becomes the output, becomes the input, becomes the output, and amplification happens each time. Like that.
And it takes a while, and it's a constant process to think about applying this in different parts of your business. But when beginning, right? I really like the idea of creating clones of yourself. And I like to think of making little telmandroids, little robot Tellmans that are out there doing some of the things that I would otherwise have to do as a flesh and blood human, right?
Right.
And so like with the net profits on demand model and building NPODs, right? I think about these as kind of like internet vending machines, right? Because I remember learning about vending machines when in the early days of looking into different opportunities to create leverage in my life, where I was trading time for money as a hypnotherapist, and or taking part-time jobs to pay the bills in my 20s. And I realized at some point, I don't know whether it was reading your stuff or Harv Eker's stuff or whose stuff really allowed me to realize, oh, I don't just need to trade my time, right, for money.
Right.
I could leverage a system. I could build a system that could do some of this work for me. And so,
and it's tough because there's a tug of war, right? Like when you're in Rainmaker mode, the tug of war between dividing your time between, making the magic happen and creating the results, and also now putting the time into being the Rainmaker for the system development, for the Telmandroid build outs, for that. And so that ends up taking away from your ability, for the amount of time that you have to put into your rainmaking duties.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not, so now you've got to redirect it. So it's not uncommon for there to be a dip in your income while you're building out the systems, unless you go in with that attitude. But, the important thing to understand is that it always starts with your time. There's no way around that, right? I mean, so that's okay. The income today, the time for money mechanism is where it all starts. And
right.
the thing is to have a game plan to how to evolve it so that you're no longer just leveraging your time, that you're learning how to leverage systems, and that you're turning those systems into business assets. If you start with the end in mind and it is a process, then you can, ratchet up. And the only thing that I've found in business that doesn't have a cap on the income is assets. When you have true business assets that are doing the work for you and that you've truly become independent of it. And that was, for me, what was so groundbreaking with NPOD was that I stumbled onto it accidentally, but it was the way that list was built, that it didn't matter. Once you did that right and you built the right responsiveness into that list and the right anticipation, the right, you couldn't kill it unless you misrepresented, unless you really abused your people. You could literally, and you've proven this for the last 17 years, your list has been exposed to tons of different businesses and ideas and different things, and you've made money in a variety of areas that you didn't have to go and rebuild that asset for that. Some of them worked better than others. Some of them didn't work at all. Some of them were gangbusters and were total blowouts. But at the core, the way that structure was built, it was an asset.
That's right.
And so that is, in my mind, critical.
I want to talk with you guys a little bit about like some practical applications of this that I have experience with, like just some real world examples to make it a little more tangible. And I want to tell you that we're going to be going into detail on this in 7.5 hours. So the URL below my beard, etgtips.com/workshop. We're doing a training tonight called How to Escape the Time for Money Trap. And we're going to be talking about exactly what we're talking about right now is the issue of the time for money trap, how people get stuck in the time for money trap, and exactly what you need to do in order to get enough leverage to get your ass out of the time for money trap. So get out of the time for money trap. Out. We're gonna if you first step one is realize that you're stuck in the trap. Maybe you're not stuck in the trap, but if you are, step one, you got to realize you're stuck in there. It's one of the most nefarious things about the time for money trap is most of the time you don't even realize you're in it. We're going to put you a rope, okay? And we're going to like cook you a dinner that you can eat when you get to the top of the trap. So join us for the Escape the Time for Money Trap. The URL is etgtips.com/workshop. Go register there, and at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, specifically this evening. Okay. In the meantime, Joshua and I are going to both be there, and we're going to be talking a lot more about this.
Yeah, I'm going to share, provided I can get all my technology working. I'm going to share the latest incarnation of the Income for Life business development process and kind of how it all makes sense in a picture format at the same time that we're going through some of this, so that we can keep. I'm not just making animations with my hands.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. Yeah, because I haven't seen that yet. That'll be cool. So real world. Okay, leverage. Okay, so these are going to be real world examples from my and or Joshua's experience. So
just keep in mind we've got about 2 to 3 minutes, and then
I'm going to really break it down for you. So I was a local hypnotherapist. I traded my time for money, $75 an hour if I was lucky most of the time. I also gave away a lot of free time for free sessions to acquire new clients. I realized that it was going to take me forever to pay off my college loans and the credit card debt I was in. I was going to be in my 50s working full time at that rate. And I realized, crap, I need to make more money. For this, I felt successful. I could eat out at restaurants and like I could pay my insurance and stuff. I felt like things were good, but I was still working my ass off. And so I realized, okay, I want to figure out how to sell hypnosis CDs on the internet. So I'm selling duplications, recordings of something that I said instead of just selling my time. Ultimately, fast forward a bunch of years, what happened is I instead of marketing and selling just my products to people, I learned how to, and just selling to people one-on-one in a private consultation basis. I built a large email list of tens of thousands of people, then hundreds of thousands of people. And I'd spend 10, 15, 20 minutes in the morning writing an email, pressing the send button, and proceed to watch tens of thousands of dollars a day come in on a consistent basis. Okay? Sometimes hundreds of thousands. Once I had $1 million hour. Okay? All because of leverage. And so I was doing lots of teleseminars and webinars where I'd get on and do a presentation in front of hundreds or thousands of individuals, okay, on a regular basis. And then finally, after doing lots and lots of those live webinars, I still was trading my time for a lot more money, but I was still trading my time. Then you make evergreen webinars, okay? And now once you have created an evergreen webinar and a perpetual system based on a sales process that works, now you're doing paid advertising on the front end and driving leads in on a daily basis, and maybe you've even outsourced that entirely to someone outside of your company or an outside provider. And so you have leads coming in every day, you have sales being generated every day. It's all happening on autopilot, but you built it with your time. So that's a really, 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 really fast version of some examples of how, if you're currently trading your time for money in a job or in a consultation type scenario, that's one example of where you can get leverage at several different points along the way over the next few years, if you wish.
And we'll have to leave it there for today, and we can certainly pick it up again tomorrow if there's interest and there's more interest on that level.
Okay. Cool.
ETGtips.com/workshop goes to nothing.
I'm just testing it right now. Jacqueline, is working for me. I think perhaps you are maybe a typo, possibly.
Yeah, it's working for me too.
Why don't we just drop it into the...
All right, we got a jet, Telman.
We do indeed.
We've got our clients are waiting on us.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Try typing it in again, Jacqueline. I think we'll be good to go. See everybody this evening. Over and out.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.